Hello and a happy new year, and welcome to the first episode of the Racing Postcast, proudly sponsored by Unibet, who sponsor every race on this weekend's card, which we're looking at Sandown and Wincanton. My name is James Stevens, Racing Post journalist and regular host of the Postcast, and we hope you enjoyed the Christmas period and some absolutely fantastic racing over the festive period. Constitution Hill is back, so Gino is brilliant, and Galopin is getting closer to that Gold Cup hat-trick. We'll be looking very quickly back at some of the highlights over the festive period, seeing what the panel think with a view to Cheltenham. Only 2 months away now. We're in January. We'll then look at this weekend's racing, which is all about the veterans. We've got the veterans final at Sandown. That's one of 4 live ITV races there. Then it's to the West Country for 3 live races at Wincanton, where the middle distance veterans race is also one of the key highlights there. We had 2 winning naps to conclude 2024 last week. So let's see what we can do in 2025. Joining me on the panel this week, we've got a few favourites on here. We've got the anti-postman, Robbie Wilders. We've got handicapper Jonny Pearson, and of course, Unibet's Ed Nicholson, who's set to be busy with plenty of prizes to give out over the next weekend. But first, let's look back at what was a fantastic Christmas period. We're going to go quick fire questions here to start. Constitution Hill, champion hurdle after that brilliant Christmas hurdle win. Constitution Hill, does he win the champion hurdle? Robbie Wilders, yes or no?
Yeah, he does for me.
Yeah, Jonny?
Do you need to elaborate, or are we going around just
no,
yes or no?
We are super quick fire here.
Right, yes.
Right. It probably does, but Brighter Days Ahead's thrown a bit of a spanner in the works on that one, though.
Okay, and Ed?
Yes, he does.
Right, we're going to go back to the same order. So Gino, brilliant against Ballyburn. Is he an absolute banker in the Arkle now? Robbie?
Yes.
Jonny?
Yeah, he wins that.
Ed?
Yes. I think he must be, mustn't he? The way he demolished Ballyburn. But I don't think it was a real Ballyburn. That's the one thing I would worry about.
No, I can certainly see that. I would expect a better performance from him next time, but still so impressive to Gino. The way he jumped around there was a thing of beauty. And the final quickfire one I'll give you is Galopin the Champ. Is anyone going to stop him winning a 3rd Gold Cup? Same order as before, boys?
No one stops him.
No, I thought Fat File might, but obviously I don't think that anymore. Galopin the Champs should win the Gold Cup. So
I think he'll probably win, but it will be the hardest year that he's had. So the answer is yes, but a cautionary one. Yeah,
I would take him on. I just got a feeling that there might just be something to emerge in the next few weeks in those trials, but we'll wait and see. We'll have it all covered on this. Now, final question on the Christmas period. We had so much good racing. I've asked the guys to give us one horse from the festive period to keep an eye on, potentially even a Cheltenham Festival. And I'll start myself. I was so impressed by Springwell Bay, should I say, yesterday at Cheltenham. Way he jumped around there. I think he's got a big handicap in him, took well to that. And that new race at the new novice handicap chase could be a potential option for him. Speaking to John Joe after the race. Let's start with you this time, Ed. Was there another horse that caught your eye over Christmas?
I'm trying to think of a few. There's quite a few Nicky Henderson horses that look like they're coming back to form. But I don't have one. I mean, you took the one I was going to suggest. I think a fast run 2.5 to 2 3/4 chase is just what Springwell Bay. I spoke to AJ O'Neill about it, and he agreed at the last meeting, saying he just pulls a little bit, so he needs a fast pace. But he won that so well. He just found so much.
I thought Langadam was interesting, obviously, but no, I was taken by Work Ahead on Boxing Day at Leopardstown, beating William Money by 7 lengths. You know, the race is entitled to come on again for him. I think he could be an interesting horse through the season for the Bromhead stable.
Yeah, Work Ahead for Jonny. And finally, Robbie.
I think I've got to go for the New Lion. What he did in the Challow was just ridiculously impressive. Barely looked like he had a race, to be honest. He's caught a few people. He caught me by surprise. I thought Regent Stroll would have his measure, but he made him look very ordinary. And it looks like Britain have a pretty strong hand in the sort of novice division, so hurdles and chases, and which makes for quite a decent narrative in the build up to Cheltenham.
It certainly does, and Potter's Charm probably the other one we need to mention as well. So impressive up at Aintree through the fog. But before we go on to this weekend's racing, let's hear from someone who had a particularly good Christmas period. That's Nicky Henderson talking through some of his big winners and, of course, those 2 fantastic performances from Constitution Hill and Sir Gino.
Nicky, what a great start to 2025. 2 winners on day 1 here at Cheltenham. Well, we're all, those of us that getting old know it's definitely getting 1 year on. But good old Chantry House, he and I are in the vintage book. That was terrific to see him back. And then...
How much of a surprise was that to you? Because, I mean, he travelled well and he picked up nicely.
I've been training him, but sort of just trying to keep him happy, get him to enjoy himself. No hard work. Suits me.
So you were going to go hunter chasing. We're giving him quotes for the Ultima. So, I mean, are you obviously going to be looking at...
He's going to have to do something like that. Yeah.
Lucky place. The further he went, the better he went, which would suggest...
Well, he's at the other end of the spectrum, isn't he? I mean, here's a really nice, also a stayer, young horse who's just hopefully on the rise. And, we'll try and...
Would you be thinking stayer hurdle for him or...
Yes.
Yeah.
I just had a quick chat with Nico there, and he wants to go down that road, so I'd be with him, yes.
Just a quick line, obviously Constitution Hill, winner of the Christmas Hurdle. Our next meeting here will be Festival Trials Day, featuring the Unibet Hurdle. Is that a race you're still potentially looking at for him?
The Unibet Hurdle's very much in our... We know it's there, and, I'm just not going to say we will or we won't, because we say that's the plan and we don't, or we'll be sort of... I'll be running away again. We didn't run away over Christmas. We took on what they threw at us. But
he's come out of Kempton well.
He's come out of it well, so far. But, I mean, you want to have a look at them 10 days on, and then they'll tell you how they've coped with the whole thing. I had to be pretty hard with him the last 3 weeks, to be fair. And he took it well, but I'd like to see how he takes the race before we make any decisions.
And Sir Gino, all good with him?
Yeah, great, He's... He Newbury would want to run again. I'd quite like to go to Newbury, to be honest with you. It doesn't really, they're similar. They're both left-handed, so's Cheltenham. I don't, in fact, Kempton's right, that doesn't matter, I don't think. They're flat enough tracks, they're straightforward. I just love Newbury, and we did it with Altior as a novice, and I don't see why I wouldn't, hoping that all being well, John Bond goes to the Clarence House at Ascot. We won't need the Game Spirit for John Bond, in which case it would say, why don't you go? I know he's a novice, but...
He didn't look a novice at Kempton, did he?
No, I think Newbury a lovely track for him.
I've just spoken to Ian Renton and John Pullen. They are going to put the Cheltenham Festival in 2 weeks' time, so that means you've got your horse in great shape for that.
Well, it would be... but here's the silly thing, last March we weren't even here. We were here in name and spirit, but there were no horses that could do anything. Actually, Lucky Place was one of the best runners of our week.
Yeah.
But, and, whatever it is, 10 months on, 11 months on, and these horses are in great form. But it just shows you it's crazy. And it's easy when it's not easy, but it's fantastic when they're running like this, and it's flipping awful when they're not.
So we move on to Sandown now for the first of four live ITV races there. This is the Reed Nicky Henderson weekly Unibet blog handicap chase, the first race over 2.5 miles, where Venetia Williams is going to look to win this race again. She won it in 2022, and of course, having such a good time over the last few months. We have 3 co-favourites, though, to start the opener. Elaton, Roccavango and Hunter Legend for Venetia at 3-1. Jupiter de Geet, 11-2. Triple Trade, 7-1. And a Cheltenham Festival winner from last year, Unexpected Party at 10s. A cracking way to start. What do we like, Jonny Pearson?
I would go against the favourites here and take a chance on Triple Trade for the Tizard team. Going back up to 2.5 miles for the first time since when it hasn't been over sort of that trip since winning in 2023, which I think is quite interesting. He's back down to a mark of 127, having been this time 12 months ago been rated to 138, and off his handicap mark, he really should be able to find a win in there. And it's he's still got to prove he's not been at his best, but if he does turn up, he should take all the beating, I think.
Triple Trade at 7-1. Ed, I mentioned at the top of the show, it's a busy weekend for the team, sponsoring every race on ITV, including this one. Yep. You've got some usual offers for us, but just first on sponsoring all the races, going to be a busy weekend, I imagine, for you.
It is. We're double-handed. I'm at Sandown, and we've got Josh down at Wincanton to do the honours and to give out the prizes, and also best turned outs. We obviously give a prize for the best turned out for each of our races we sponsor to the groom responsible for that horse. So yeah, plenty of action from Unibet this weekend. As you say, all the races on ITV sponsored by us. We've been sponsoring this meeting at Sandown since 2019, and the group has been sponsoring it for 10 years. So it's a race meeting we love. It used to be the Tolworth, the Grade 1, which has now been moved, but the Veterans Chase now holds centre court, and it's always a fantastic race, isn't it? But it starts off with the read Nicky Henderson's weekly Unibet blog, and I strongly suggest that you do that this week because Nicky's on a ridiculous strike rate. 10 from his last 27 horses have won. I spoke to him over the Christmas period during the blogs, and the horses are in just cracking form, and he's in good form as well. As opposed to this race, though, he doesn't have a runner, so we've got to look elsewhere. And I really like one horse here who has only beaten one horse home in his 3 runs this year. But I think Etalon is there to win on Saturday. His first time over 2.5 over fences. He ran over 2.5 over hurdles. Ran here at Sandown actually in the handicap hurdle at the back end of the season over hurdles. But he wouldn't like to back him based upon his performances recently. But I just think he's been getting ready. He used to be a horse that they thought a lot of, the Skeltons. So much so he ran in the Grade 1 novices at Aintree, and his handicap markers just slipped down nicely. He was on 141, 142 beginning of the season. It's now on 135. Harry's gone for this horse rather than, as you say, the Cheltenham Festival winner, Unexpected Party. And there's been a lot of money for him in the early skirmishes since the decks came out. I saw 8, 6, 5s. He's now 4-1 best price with us. I think there'll be continued support for this horse, and I just thought Etalon had a lot of positives. If you can forgive the fact he's run a little bit below par over 2 miles so far this season, I'm going to give him a chance here because I think this is the first race that he's had a real chance of winning this season.
The money's come for Etalon, and Ed Nicholson clearly thinks it's going to be justified. We finally finish off with Robbie. What do we like in the opener?
Yeah, Etalon is the one I'm very, very conscious of. He's eventually going to win something decent. I mean, he has been pretty lifeless this season, but he's obviously, as Ed said, he's come down to a very good mark. He's unexposed over the trip. It could be the day. I just worry if he might be laying out for something else a little bit further down the line. But we shall see. Respect him. I think due to the Geet, I prefer a little bit bigger odds. He does do things wrong. He's a very hard puller. But he's got so much ability. He ran a superb race here last time over 3 miles, considering how keen he was. That trip was never really likely to be what he wants. I mean, he started out as an out-and-out 2-miler. Remember when he won a juvenile hurdle race by about half the track on his stable debut for Gary Moore a couple of years ago. He was running Grade 1s after that. Off 126, he's definitely well treated. I don't see too much pace in there. I think he'll get an easy lead. He'll just go out in front. I could honestly see him winning by 10 lengths and no one getting near him, to be honest. I like Freddie Mitchell's £5 claim. And I think he's a bit of a boom or bust. Like he could win, as I say, could win by miles. He could finish tailed off. But I think sort of odds around the 6-7-1 mark are very fair because he's got an awful lot of talent. I think apart from the Skelton pair in this, Etalon and Unexpected Party, he's got the most talent in the field.
Absolutely. A strong selection there from Robbie. Just before we move on, Ed, we've got a money back offer on this race as well.
Yeah, money back as cash second or third on this race. Opening race, then it's our trademark offer, really. So if you go to unibet.co.uk and if your horse finishes second or third to the eventual winner, you will get your money back as cash. Terms and conditions apply as always.
Sure, let's move on to the 225, the Try Unibet's new Smart Few race cards Mares Hurdle, a race where Della Casalunga is £9 clear on ratings. We'll see what the panel think of her chances. She is, though, the 15-8 favourite. Got joint second favourites Aston Martini and Dame of the Cotswolds. Georgie Girl for the in-form Ben Hobbs and Johnson White combination. The Lord Maid at 8-1 and Good Luck Charm for Anthony Honeyball at Thames. Robbie, I mentioned the favourite there, Della Catalunga, £9 clear on ratings, won well last time. It looks straightforward on paper, but it's not always the case, is it?
I mean, it's only 8 days after she won at Kempton. That would be a slight concern, and the sort of drop back in trip, because I think she looks like she's at her best over 3 miles. The one I'd be most interested in is Georgie Girl. Philip Hobbs, Johnson White, like you said, James, they're in really good form at the moment. She was only 5th at Cheltenham last time in a mare's handicap hurdle. I thought that was quite a strong race beforehand. It was quite muddling the way they went. There was only about 3 lengths split in the field, jumping the last. I wouldn't judge her too harsh on that. I think she's got a massive chance on the form of Warwick win the time before. Put up some really smart time figures that day. Back in a smaller field at a track she's won at in the past, I think she can definitely outrun her price. 92,
Georgie Girl. Jonny?
I mean, it's hard to. I mean, you could argue Della Catalunga is quite good value here. £9 clear and odds against. I mean, what's not to like about that? In theory, she should take a hell of a lot of beating, but as it's been mentioned, she did run at Kempton on the 27th, which would be a bit of a concern. It's a quick enough turnaround, but before that, there was only 2 weeks between her 2 previous runs. So she clearly takes her racing fairly well. She's in good form, which is always a positive. One I thought would have a chance at a bigger price, could be a potential improver in here, is the Lord Maid for Tom Lacey and Gavin Sheehan. Obviously behind Georgie Girl last time at Warwick, but I think she's got potential to keep improving. She's in good form before that, but I find it hard to look past the favourite.
Yeah, the Lord Maid was one I thought potentially was the each-way play. Della Catalunga, though, a strong favourite. Where are we thinking, Ed?
Well, I think you've got to start the analysis with Della Catalunga, haven't you? Given that she is the best filly according to official ratings in the race, or mare in the race. But as Robbie said, it is, and Jonny, that it is a quick turnaround. My main concern would be the drop down to 2.5, because I've watched that video, or that shows how old I am. I've watched the stream of the mare winning at Kempton, and she kind of led the Mameri down. So she was 4 or 5 lengths clear for most of the way. And then once they came to it, the final hurdle, she went away again. So I think her strengths are the fact that she stays so well. And this 2.5 miles might be a little bit on the sharp side. But it is soft ground. She likes soft ground. And we know how attritional it can be at Sandown. Apparently, I've been told by the management, because we sponsor there, so I spoke to them all this week, that there might be a precautionary inspection because there might be frost, which means that if that does come out, it might even get even harder to get home, which will obviously suit this mare more than maybe some of the speedsters on the day. So, I mean, Della Catalunga, when I was looking at the race, she was 3-1. She's been smashed 15-8 now, and you can see why. She should win, and she will be my selection. But I wouldn't put anyone off Aston Martini. They were very, very disappointed in the Jerry Fielden last time at Newbury. We've got Nico de Boinville. Obviously, he does a blog for us as well, and he's just said that you can put a line through that. That wasn't her run. So they're expecting better things, and the stable are in great form, as we know. But I think you've just got to go for Della Catalunga based upon she is officially the best mare in the race. And she might, I looked at the pace map for this race, and there is a lot of pace. So she led last time, but she has won when being prominent. So she doesn't necessarily have to lead. And I think that would have been a slight worry if there wasn't a lot of pace. But I think there will be a good pace. It'll be a stamina sapping 2.5 miles, which will play to the strengths of the favourite.
We move on to the 3 o'clock. This is the highlight of the weekend, and a race I'm particularly like. This is the Unibet Veterans Handicap Chase. This is the big final where we have Joe Tizzard has the top 2 in the betting. The leader is Copperhead, 3-1 favourite, revitalised back to form after seemingly having a long time in the doldrums. He's our 3-1 favourite, ridden by Freddie Gingle. Eldorado Allen, 9-2. Sam Brown, winner of a race last year when it's held at Warwick, at 6-1. Empire Steel, 6. Ask Me Early, 6-1. Fortescue, 10s. Remastard, 12. Smarty Wild, 12. And former Beecher Chase winner Chambard at 16-1. I'll come straight back to you, Ed. You've got a super boost for us. Some lovely old faces in this race, isn't there?
Absolutely. This is the reason why we sponsor these races. I mean, they're competitive, 3-1 the field, and they bring about the favourites that we've loved for the last 3 or 4 years. So I love these races, as you probably worked out, because we sponsor this and we sponsor the middle distance series, which is happening at Wincanton, which we'll go on to. And we sponsored this race for 7 years, and the group sponsored it for 10. And Copperhead, he was a 150 horse in his prime, and he's running really well. So 133. I mean, I know he's getting older and he's 11. Like all of us, we get slower, but class is permanent, isn't it? And he's showing his class. That last run against Numitor in the Unibet middle distance series chase at Cheltenham, that was a good run because Numitor is basically a very good horse over 2.5. He has a lot of speed. He's already won at Wincanton, which is a speed track, and over Cheltenham over 2.5. He won really easily, I thought. So that was a good run by Copperhead, who's got some really good form at Sandown as well. I think he's run 4 times at the course, won once and been placed twice. I think the only time he hasn't been placed was over hurdles and a Potemps Network qualifier. So he loves the chase course. Freddie Gingle takes a handy £3 in the back. I think they've been planning this race for him as well. And the extra chip up to 3 miles will definitely suit, as it will Eldorado Allen, who's exactly the type of horse that we're running these races for, especially the middle distance chase series, because he hasn't won for ages, but he's running grade 1s, handicaps. He even tried to win a handicap hurdle at Plumpton and couldn't. So that was great to see him come third last time out. Sam Brown won the final of this last year. It was rerouted to Warwick, won that easily and has run since really well. A third in the Charlie Hall, I think, and he's had a new kind of lease of life. And then Empire Still, Sandy Thompson, they come down from Scotland, don't they? Or certainly the north, and they won this race with what's the name? See you midnight. See you at midnight a couple of years ago. So they're obviously going down the same route. Fortescue just loves soft ground and staying is his game. So it's a really fantastic race. But I thought Copperhead had a lot going for him. He's come back to form. I thought that was a good run last time. I don't think he could possibly beat Numitor, and he ran really well over a distance that was too short. So yeah, Copperhead's going to be my bet. And as you said, we are offering Super Boost here. So every horse in this race will be the next price up the ladder from 9 a.m. on Saturday morning.
Yeah, Copperhead has been aimed at this race for some time. Dating back to the stable trot at the start of the season with Joe Tizzer, which did this, was mentioned as the race. It was his ideal track, ideal conditions. So this has been the target. And I think he really ran better than expectations when second at Cheltenham too, as you say, Numitor, who loves that 2.5 mile trip. Robbie, where are you on the veterans?
Yeah, great race. Really like it every year. I'm interested in Sam Brown. I mean, he's the best horse in the field. I think Anthony Honeyball is going to this Chad Bammon gentleman, and the fact he's booked him for such a big race looks quite interesting. He rode a good winner for Honeyball, didn't he, at Sandown before Christmas? A Good Luck Charm. He looks pretty tidy. And that's an awful lot of weight for a horse who's run very well in the Charlie Hall, only 2 starts back behind the Real Wacker. That was as good as he's run, really. RPR of 159. Real Wacker ran pretty well in the King George, really. He's 4th in that. This is a completely different caliber opponent, Sam Brown's targeting meeting here. You did the Honeyball stable tour, didn't you? I believe this has been his long-term target. Honeyball said that he might take in the Coral Gold Cup before as sort of to build towards it. So I would completely ignore that run off carrying top weight in a Coral Gold Cup. I mean, this is a different ballgame. He's going to be carrying 11 stone 4 with Chad Bammon's claim, meeting inferior horses. He's 13, but he's keeping his form really well. Loves soft ground. Won it last year. Honeyball won it in 2020 as well, I believe. So, yeah, I think he's got a cracking chance.
Yeah, and the other thing I'd add to what you said on Sam Brown there, Robbie, is that his run at Charlie was probably his best ever first run back of the season.
Yeah, I agree.
Probably since his novice chase days. And that was a cracking run. And last year when he came to the race, his form was pretty hopeless. I thought he might be retired after he was pulled up at Cheltenham, and he came out and won it. So shows my knowledge, I think, more than anything else. Someone who does have plenty of knowledge. Jonny, how do you go about handicapping these sort of the older horses? Is it an easier race to look at because we know so much about them? Is it harder because we're trying to judge how much their sort of ability is deteriorating? Harder or easier? What do you make of it as a handicapper?
Well, I mean, I've been given to handicapping. A lot of it comes down to, how fast the race has been run, how close they finished. If they'll finish in a heap, chances are they've not actually, the best horse hasn't necessarily run to their best, and they've gone slowly round and it's turned into a bit of a sprint. But you're just working out the ability of that horse at that time, ultimately. It's the same as you'd handicap any other race. You're not taking a dim view on the horses just because they're a couple of years older. 11's not that old. For all they're going to struggle against an improving 8-year-old, it doesn't mean they've lost all their ability by any means. But I mean, the one that stands out for me is a horse that's not won since February 22, and he's becoming a bit of a cliff horse for me, which is really not ideal. That's Fortescue for Henry Daly. It should go well, should like the ground. Very disappointing last time at Ascot, but I'll put a line through that. He ran well enough behind Copperhead at Aintree, and I think there's too big a difference in the prices between the two of them there. If they, with the swing and the weights they've had since that day, if Fortescue can get back to near that form in behind Copperhead, he should actually have a pretty decent chance, and 10-1 looks too big a price to miss up there.
Yeah, Henry Daly's having a very good season as well, which is a huge boost to his chances. So Fortescue there for Jonny. Let's move on to the last of the ITV races we'll be looking at from Sandown. This is the 335, the free bet with Unibet Bet Builder Rebound Handicap Hurdle, where last year's winner Hardy de Soy looks to strike again, but is not the favourite. Our favourite is 5-2 shot Honky Tonk Highway for Harry and Dan Skelton. Navajo Indy is 4-1. Oh My Jonny 9-2. Hardy de Soy just mentioned there 13-2, as long with Your Division for Henry Daly. Organary Mill at 10-1 for Robert Wolford. A competitive way to finish the Sandown card. Jonny, let's come straight back to you. Where are we looking here?
Well, we've got another Jerry Fielden horse running here, and Navajo Indy. Obviously, Aston Martini's running earlier on the card, so it'll be interesting. And that form's working out all right, but I think £8 is a fair hike for that win, to be honest. For all, I think the handicapper might just have got to him a bit more than some of the others in the race. Organary Mill, is that how you say it? Organary Mill, how do you say that? I think his form behind beating King William Rufus looks good, but very disappointing at Ascot. But you can put a line through that. Was hampered and didn't run his race at all. But the one that sort of stands out to me is Oh My Jonny, naturally. But that Bangor race they fell at the last, he was in front and he was going to win cosily that day. Form of that race is working out. I think a couple in there have gone 1, I think. He's then impressed winning. He talked to last time by 5 lengths, winning pretty cosily. Could have won by further, in my opinion. And I think he's probably ahead of the handicapper. For all people might not think that. And the Hobbs White stable in good form. He's 5-1 looks a generous price to me.
Yeah, was the one I fell on as well, Jonny. So that's that chance gone, I'm afraid. Robbie, where are you looking here?
Yeah, I think in Honky Tonk Highway, it's probably a bit short on what she's achieved over hurdles. I mean, she was obviously really good in bumpers, but I don't know. I mean, Skelton, all his quotes, he's always said this is like a stay-in mare, and he's keeping her at 2 miles. I don't know. I think this is quite a tough enough task on a handicap debut, even though she could be a good bit better. I think Navajo Indy has the best form. I mean, he's obviously won the Jerry Fielden. I mean, the horses that have been like the 7th one since the 9th, the 11th and the 12th have all won their next start. So it's good form. He's up £8, and that was his handicap debut. Like there should be plenty more to come. This is a weaker race than the Jerry Fielden. He's going from a class 1 down to a class 3. Yeah, I really like his profile. Even his banger novice hurdle wins works out really well, because the second horse has come out and won by absolute miles. I think there's room to play with his mark, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was pushing Honky Tonk Highway for favouritism before the off.
Navajo Indy at 4-1, and finally Ed.
Yeah, Honky Tonk Highway, they've spoken about that she kind of gets away with 2 miles, or she's got away with 2 miles. So I was surprised that they keep her to 2 miles. She was actually entered in the listed race, the mare's listed race earlier on in the card. So they've obviously taken the easier option here, but she does love Sandown and she loves soft ground. If she was good enough to win that listed race, you would expect that she has to be competitive here. If they thought she was good enough to contest it, she'd have to be like another, at least £10, would she, to have in hand. So, yeah, on a course that we know she likes, she loves soft ground. I remember winning her bumper. Was it a listed? Did she win a listed bumper on a debut at Sandown, something like that? And she just loved the ground that day. And she did it last time similarly. She just looked like she was going to get beaten, but just stayed on. I think she will improve for an extra 4 furlongs, but I just thought she was worth keeping on the side of until she gets beat, especially with the rating that she's got at the moment, 119. I think she's better than that. So yeah, I'm going to go for Honky Tonk Highway to continue the winning success at Sandown.
Sure. When that is our final selection at Sandown, we'll be going to Wincanton down in the West Country after a quick look at the Racing Post Insider. So part 2 of the show is at Wincanton. I'll be there this weekend. Looking forward to that good action. And we start in the 205 as a bet £20. Get £20 with the Unibet handicap hurdle over mile 7. We had an 80-1 winner in this race in 2022. Are we in for another surprise? We don't have prices, so let's go straight into what the panel like for it. Jonny, it's not the highest grade race we'll have seen on ITV, so it's a tricky one to look at. But what do you think for it?
It looks quite tricky to figure out as well who's going to win. I mean, you've got the sort of two probably heading towards the head of the market that, to me, don't actually look that well handicapped, which makes it in St Luke's, Chelsea, and Soldiers Leap. I don't think either of them particularly well handicapped here. John Betjeman, on some of his older form, is potentially absolutely thrown in here, but he needs to reproduce some of his efforts. I think Dirty Den's where I've sort of come down on. I think Callum Pritchard claiming 7s could make a big difference to the horse's chances here and could really improve the horse. He's less keen than last time at Wincanton and had a better chance as well. And the Anthony Charlton yard's actually going in fairly decent form. They had, was it Mutard? Was it Mutard that won? I can't remember. Over the Christmas period. And Ego Bingo won as well. And I think he's the one to be on there. The improving 5-year-old for me. I think he can get the job done.
Dirty Den for Jonny. Robbie's not got a selection in this race, so we're going to move straight forward to Ed.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very difficult race. I probably wouldn't be having a bet myself in it. Although we sponsor the race, 0 to 105 handicap. I'm going to go for the 4-year-old, the favourite at the moment, St Luke's Chelsea. Hasn't won a race on the flat or over jumps. Was with Rafe Beckett when racing over 6 furlongs and a mile. If this horse is ever going to get home over 2 miles, it's going to be at Wincanton, which official distance for their 2 miles is 1 mile 7 and 50 yards. So if you're a short horse, this is the race. It's a tight track. And St Luke's Chelsea did run well last time. I remember the race because I'd backed the horse that came third at odds against, and he went off at 1 to 3. And he got beat. And this horse kind of led every single yard until right at the end, took a hold. So I just think this course might suit. It's got 10 stone 8. 4-year-old, give him a chance to win his first ever race, St Luke's Chelsea.
On to the 240. This is the Unibet middle distance veterans handicap chase. As we mentioned, another one where the older brigade get their chance to shine as the middle distance races has come through this season. They've been really good. We had that fantastic race at Cheltenham, which we discussed earlier. Another really competitive race. Nocta Valitus at 9 to 4 favourites. Stormy Flight 100 to 30. The Ligurian 4 to 1. Red Rookie 9 to 2. Kel Destan ridden by Harry Cobden. We should mention he's here at Wincanton to take some of those ITV races. So potentially that's a key point. Kel Destan, his mount here is 5 to 1. The Widowmaker off a long break at 12s and Longshanks at 16s. Let's come straight back to you, Ed. You've got a deal for us, but this series continues to go from strength to strength.
Yeah, we love this series. It's the second year of a 5-year deal, multi-million-pound sponsorship with the Jockey Club, all together with our racing. And this was an initiative we came up with last season, or at the end of the season before that, to try and get more competitive 2.5 milers with the veterans of 10, 11, and 12. And it's proved quite a success, I think, in the first year. Numitor winning the final at Haydock, £100,000 race. This is probably one of the lesser races in terms of prize money, but you obviously can qualify for the final, which is a big thing. As I say, £100,000 final at Haydock. And Leligierin is a horse that I really have a lot of time for in his veterans chases. He doesn't just run in our veterans chases, he runs in a few others as well. And it seems when he comes back down to race against his own age, that's when he excels. He's obviously a horse that's been quite good in the past. He's coming back up the handicap because he's run really well. He won the very first middle distance Unibet race at Kempton a year and a half ago. And I remember talking to Joe Tizard, who just said that he's going to continue to run him in these races because he finds it difficult against the younger horses who are creeping up the handicap, but still probably have a bit of improvement in them. And that's exactly the reason why we introduced these races, to give the old boys a chance to win a race, to have their day in the sun again. And Lerizon is just proving a brilliant horse for Tizard. Won last time at Lingford. I remember the race, and he won really well. And it was a funny old race because they kept on going fast and slow in quite bottomless ground. And he won. I mean, he won it coming into the turn. He was only horse going well, really. I do worry about Wincanton. He doesn't have the best of records at Wincanton, but I do think he's a 12-year-old who's coming back to almost like the best of his form. I think he was like late 130s, mid 130s horse, and he's at 128 now. So he's not too far away, according to the official handicaps, from what his best he's ever been. So I'm going to back Illusion in. Also, interestingly, a bit of money for him. He's now come in the betting 2 or 3 points since I looked at the market at 11 o'clock, and we are going industry best price here. So again, this is a really good offer because there's no need to bet anywhere else from 9 a.m. on Saturday because we'll be the best price from 9 a.m. Whatever's being offered by somebody else, we'll match it from 9 a.m. for this race, which is obviously sponsored by us, and we're very proud to sponsor the Unibet Middle Distance Veteran Series this year.
Sure, come on to Robbie. Where do you look at here?
Yeah, good race. Another good veterans race. Stormy Flight for me. I thought that was an excellent run at Exeter last time behind Lowry's Bar, who came and won really well at Aintree. Lowry's Bar is now £10 higher. I just like it when horses like Stormy Flight, the veterans, can run well against novices. He beat 2 unexposed novices at Exeter when he wasn't far off Lowry's Bar, the Doyen Chief and Lord of Thunder. Lord of Thunder is quite an interesting horse going forward, I think. He's just in really good form. He's only gone up £1 for that. I mean, this race, I would wager that there aren't as many well-handicapped chasers in it. And he's run well at the track before. I think he's most likely winner.
Yeah, agree with you on Stormy Flight completely there, Robbie. Jonny?
It's not a race I'll be able to bet in, but it's always interesting when you got this time of year. You've got those who have literally just turned 10. It's obviously the first chance they've got to run in a veterans race. I'd be interested to know the stats on sort of how often the 10-year-olds win the races this time of year in these veteran series, because in theory they're a year younger, but I know that doesn't mean an awful lot when it's a 10-year-old versus an 11-year-old. Thought Red Rookie was potentially interesting, but not a horse I could entertain having a bet on.
Sure, Red Rookie, small mention there from Jonny, we can say. Move on to the final race we'll be looking at. This is the 3:15 at Wincanton, the Unibet More Extra Places Races Handicap Hurdle. And will it be a hat-trick for Cardo de Joie? He is the 85-40 favourite. Authentic Legacy, 130 Nordic Tiger, 4-1. 9th lot for the Jersey team. Harry Durham trains, 15-2. Love O'Naymore, 8-1. And Latin Verse at 11s, along with High Game Royal, who's my fancy here. High Game Royal for me. Robbie, where do you look at this race for?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Harry Durham. I think we all are as a trainer. He's just really good at improving horses he's recruited. He's got Nordic Tiger, who's the shorter price one of his 2 in the betting. Since Nordic Tiger's joined the yard, he's improved £19. The other horse he runs is 9th Lock, who's a much bigger price, making a stable debut. I think this could be open to an awful lot of improvement. He's got a good record when Victoria Malzard rides for him. She's over for the mount. You go back through he was with Willie Mullins a couple of years ago. He placed in a Punchtown Festival bumper on his debut, and then he won his bumper on this sort of surface. Go back to his hurdle form for Mullins as well. He's only beaten 3/4 length by the Wall Park, who is obviously on a lot of people's radar for the Stairs hurdle. He's off 1-2-2, but he showed improved form in France. He won his last start for Noel George and Amanda Zetterholm, if that's how it's pronounced. And I could just see him just improving quite a bit. He's only 6, still a young horse, just turned 6. Obviously, happy birthday on New Year's Day. And I like his profile.
Yeah, and a bonus bit of accent there for you, Robbie. We get all things on the Racing Postcast, including that sort of bonus. Ed, what do you like?
I really fancy Nicky Henderson's runner here, Cadeau de Joie. This has a feel of a prep for the Lanzarote to me. 2 5.5 at Wincanton. Kempton, very similar. Nicky's won it 3 times in the last 12 years, the Kempton race. And he's only rated 119, this horse. I've had a look at the last few years, what you need to be to win or to get into the race. You can get in around about 118, 119, but to be sure, you need to be mid-20s. And the winners over the last few years have been 125, 132, 132, 128, 130, 132. I think if Cadeau de Joie wins this, he'll go up to the mid-120s and would have a serious chance. But that's in the future. It's all about today. And I just thought, looking at this race, the race just suits. Cadence Joie has only won by a length and a length and a quarter his last 2 races. But you have a look at the videos. James Bowen doesn't resort to his whip on either occasion. I don't know whether he's been told not to hit the horse. Some horses don't like it. But to me, it looks like he had lots more under the bonnet. And he's come from so far back on both occasions at Warwick and I think it's Warwick and Lingfield. Came from miles back. So they're obviously thinking this horse, and he's up in trip. So he's up to 2 miles, 5.5 for the first time. So, I mean, given the way they run, a fast run race over 2 mile, 5.5 at Wincanton, absolutely, I think, perfect for this horse. I think he's got a great chance. But I'll be interested to see what they say after the race if he does win, because I've just got a feeling they might be looking at the Lanzarote.
A bit of a pointer to the future, as well as a tip there from Ed with Cadeau Joie. Finally, Jonny.
Oh, it was a tricky little race to work out, and I think there's a fair bit of pace on. I think Love and Name was going to try and make all again, as he has done in the last twice he's won races. And I think he's probably overpriced, largely because he comes from the Robbie Llewellyn stable rather than the Dan Skelton stable, for example. I think he'll have a bit of a chance, but I can't take my eyes off Authentic Legacy here. I'm just surprised Robbie didn't mention, given I know he's a fan of Miami Magic, who was only beaten 10 lengths by Fakenham in October. But then you look back to that race at Fontwell behind Gilongolong, and Gilongolong's got form with Electric Mason, who's then come and run a blinder in the Challow Hurdle at Newbury over the festive period. And I think if they put pieces on here for the first time, I can see him running a really big race off from after 112.
Authentic Legacy for Jonny. We'll be looking at selections away from the ITV cameras as well as those all-important naps after a quick word from our sponsors.
Want betting on the horses to be anything but flat? With an app that impresses every time out. You're on. Want to watch live streaming of races in the UK, Ireland and around the globe? And get a chance to win even bigger with 3 Uniboosts every day on any horses you want. Unibet, you're on.
Okay, and we are going to look at selections away from the ITV cameras. And Ed, we've got a very special race at Sandown, haven't we? We've got the Watch Unibet Racing Postcast Maiden Hurdle. Some would argue this is bigger than the Grand National.
Yeah, most of those people would be Racing Post employees, but yeah, you're right. It's nice to sponsor a race with this postcast in mind. And although none of the assembled cast, apart from myself, will be at Sandown, I know you're at Wincanton, James. We have managed to get the one and only Mr. Paul Keeley from the Racing Post at the track, and he's going to do the honours and he's going to present the trophy for this very big race.
And there's a Nicky Henderson horse, Cresima, in there, who's got graded form in bumpers in France. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed that this race we could see a bit of a future star potentially as well. So it's a decent enough race.
Yeah, decent enough race. This race has thrown up a few nice winners over the past. And Nicky does love going to Sandown with a nice horse, as we know, especially a novice. So check out the Nicky Henderson blog, which will be dropping around about Friday morning with all the information about his horses for the weekend.
Yeah, you mentioned the novices for Nicky Henderson at Sandown. I mean, Constitution Hill wasn't too bad. One for the future. Ed, you've got a selection for us elsewhere as well.
Yeah, I'll be at Chepstow on Sunday, following Sandown on Saturday. And there's a horse that's not declared, but has entered. I'm hoping he runs because he looks a real deal for Paul Nicholls. There's a young horse called the Bluesman. He won at Chepstow last time out, a maiden hurdle, and steps into a novices this time. I was really taken by that performance at Chepstow. I think most of us were there. I think he could progress into a very nice horse at the back end of the season. So hopefully he'll turn up, the Bluesman, at Chepstow on Sunday. 1:15.
Yeah, the 1:15 just there in time. Robbie, anything else for us?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about the race that I thought was going to be on ITV until they switched over. It's got a poor field, but I think there's a bet in it. It's 4 runners. It's the 133 at Wincanton. Basically, the market, the first 2 in the market are Trained by Venetia Williams and Paul Nicholls. 2 yards I'm not sure are firing on all cylinders completely at the moment. Whereas the third favourite is trained by Philip Hobbs and Johnson White. Definitely going well. And that horse is called Living on Luco. Got a nice profile. He's got Callum Pritchard aboard, claiming £7. Obviously, talk of the town. Pritchard, good value for his claim. This horse won his chasing debut at Newton Abbott in novice handicap, won nicely when Pritchard was aboard. He then ran in a really good novice handicap at Cheltenham. That race, the one by Horty, Kalur with Transmission, Peaky Boy, loads of well handicap novices and that. He was outclassed there, but this is a completely different kettle of fish. He's going up against sort of a weaker calibre of opponent down in class. And he's opened up around about 7-2 mark. I think that's a pretty good bet.
That's Living in Luco in the 133 at Wincanton on Saturday. And Jonny, we know you like your Irish racing. Some really interesting stuff to look forward to, particularly at Naas on Sunday.
Yeah, at 125, we've got the Racing Close Novice Chase, the Grade 2, and you've got it's a 2-mile chase for novices. And if there is one that, as we mentioned, Sir Gino at the top of the show, if there is one in that might, cause them a bit of a fright in the Arkle, it's likely that there's a good chance they'll be running in this race. Obviously, we haven't had declarations through as of yet, but we've got potential of Majborough in the pocket, Firefox, Yellow Atlantic, all look pretty good on their chasing debut, on their early chasing form. So it'd be interesting to see what does turn up there, and more of the aftermath of the race and those selection going into it, so to speak. And then at 155, you've got the Lawlers of Naas Novice Hurdle Grade 1. You've got the bumper winner for champion bumper winner Jasmine Defoe, Yellow Clay. Loads of good horses entered, and again it'll be interesting to see what happens there with a view to the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Envoy Bob Ollinger, Battle Over Doyen, all those good horses have won this race. An absolute must watch. The 155 at Naas on Sunday, with a view to Cheltenham. But before we get to Cheltenham, we need our best bets for the weekend. And Robbie Wilders, what is the nap this weekend?
Yes, James, my nap is in the 150 at Sandown, Jupiter the Geet. He could win by 10 lengths. He could lose by 40 lengths. But I have a feeling it might be his day tomorrow.
So that is Jupiter the Geet in the
I should say
150
the
at
time,
Sandown.
shouldn't I? I should say the time. 150 at Sandown, Jupiter the Geet.
First race we looked at all those long time ago. Jonny, I think you've got a very well named nap for us this week.
Yeah, the 335 at Sandown. We're going to go with My Jonny. I think he's an improving horse and he'll have a good chance here.
Ed?
Yeah, the 315 at Wincanton. I think Nicky's in great form at the moment. Cadeau de Joie hasn't come really under pressure to win his last two. I think he's an improving type, has a big race in him. I expect him to win once again with James Bowen on board. Will be favourite, but I think he's a step ahead of the handicapper.
And I hope that 35 minutes before Stormy Flight, the tip of Robbie Wilders, and I'm also following him on that one, will win the Unibet middle distance race, the 240 at Wincanton, Stormy Flight. For me, that draws to a close this week's show, the first show of 2025, I should say. Thank you very much to our panel, Robbie Wilders, Jonny Pearson and Ed Nicholson. Some brilliant interaction on the comments regarding that brilliant bout between Lossiemouth and Constitution Hill on our YouTube page last week. So keep those coming. We enjoy reading your fancies and your selections for the weekend. And as always, if you do, please could rate, review and subscribe wherever you are listening to us. We'll be back at 7 p.m. next Thursday, looking ahead to Classic Chase Day at Warwick. But until next time, enjoy the racing, goodbye, and gamble responsibly.